Hello again and welcome to another Morty and Glory Warhammer 40k video. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about a topic that is going to make every Death Court of Krieg fan a little uncomfortable in their trousers. We're going to be casting our eye over a classic Imperial Guard unit, one that's been around since the Siege of Rax. We're going to be asking and answering one simple question. Is the Malcador Defender now broken? And so without further ado, let's not mess around any further. Let's mount up, roll out, and charge right into today's episode.
Attention Guardsmen, the Commissariat has detected you have not yet liked this video. Do so immediately or else you will face the Emperor's wrath. And anyone who has not yet subscribed to the channel will be transferred to the penal battalions. That is all. Move out!
Now, to start off, I want to refresh all of our memories on what the hell the Malcador Defender even is. The Malcador Defender is a Forge World unit, and it is a heavy tank. It has a movement value of 10 inches, toughness 11, a 2+ save, 18 wounds, leadership 7, and OC of 5. This defensive profile puts it somewhere in between a Leman Russ and a Rogel Dawn. But the big thing about the Malcador Defender is just how many guns you can strap onto it. As standard, it comes equipped with a Demolisher Cannon, which is identical to the one that you can find on your Leman Russ Demolisher, but then it also gets 7 heavy bolters. That's right, not 3 heavy bolters like Leman Russ, 7 heavy bolters, and you can swap a couple of these heavy bolters out for either auto cannons or las cannons, and you can give it a hunter killer missile, and you can give it a heavy stubber as well. Now, at the beginning of 10th edition, I reviewed the Malcador Defender, and I said that it was a pretty fun unit, pretty cool, a lot of potential. After all, you do have just a lot of guns in it, and it's got a Demolisher Cannon, but fundamentally, it was a little bit out of place, and that's because 10th edition is a meta of vehicles and monsters, and something which is really focused on having lots of DACA, lots of anti-infantry firepower, was going to struggle to make its mark in this edition. But my, how the turntables keep turning. Because with some recent changes with the balanced data slate and Pariah Nexus and all that good stuff, the new season of Warhammer 40k, the Malcador Defender just got one hell of a glow up. First and foremost, the changes to Born Soldiers greatly benefit this vehicle. In the past, you had to remain stationary in your turn in order to get lethal hits on your Imperial Guard units. That was the benefit of being in the combined arms detachment. But this got updated with the balanced data slate. Now, you no longer need to stay still. You just have to get within 18 inches of and be visible to the enemy unit. And if you are a squadron vehicle, and the Malcador Defender is a squadron vehicle, it has that keyword, then you get lethal hits when shooting against enemy vehicles and monsters. And with the Malcador Defender packing so many heavy bolters and generating so many shots, it has a lot of opportunity to generate meaningful lethal hits. Now, what do I mean by that? You see, you could take something like a Leman Russ Punisher, which gets a similar number of shots, and you could argue that that's pretty good under the new lethal hits regime. But the problem with the Punisher is it has no armor penetration, and also it's only damage 1 on most of its guns. With the Malcador Defender, all of those heavy bolters, 21 heavy bolter shots a turn, are going to be generating 3 to 4 lethal hits and 3 to 4 sustained hits on top of that as well. All of those hits are going to be at least AP -1, and realistically, they're probably going to be AP -2 now that the only thing that's worth spending our CP on is Fields of Fire. That allows it to cut through enemy armor, allows it to cut through enemy cover, and when it gets to the other side, it's damage 2. So you're not just shaving a wound off here and there, you're actively able to do significant damage to all targets now. Because if you continue shooting all those heavy bolters at infantry, well, they'll be just as good as they always have been. They are, after all, anti-infantry weapons. But if you shoot all those heavy bolters at vehicles, it's now going to start tearing chunks out of them at a surprising rate. And I'm not talking about this from a theorycraft point of view in any way, shape, or form. I recently had a battle report where I ran Tau. I know, lambast me, but whilst you're lambasting me, just listen to me for a second, okay? I had a ghost kill that got shot by a chimera or two, and my ghost kill got flattened because of all the damage to wounds with multiple AP that just went through and just slotted it. And these heavy bolters are great for teeing up the Demolisher Cannon to finish off the enemy asset. I mean, let's do a bit of very basic math hammer here, guys. And I always say math hammer is not my strong suit, so we're just doing this on the back of a napkin, essentially. But if you take all those heavy bolters, you're going to get between 3 and 4 sustained hits, as well as 3 and 4 lethal hits. Now, presuming that you've got a bit of AP there or Hellhound knocking about, which you should do, guard units should always be working together in concert or have some kind of stratagem support. Let's say that 2 of those lethal hits go through. They've got a pip of AP on them. Your opponent's got a 4+ save. Out of the 4 that you do, let's say you get a couple of them through. That's 4 damage right there. Now, if we then take the remaining wounds and say that the target you're shooting at requires either 5s and 6s or 6s, we're looking at another potentially 2, 3 to 6 wounds, depending on if you need 5s and 6s to wound it. So again, let's average it out, really basic here. Let's always err on the side of caution. Let's say that you're able to do 2 wounds from the lethal hits that go through and 2 wounds from the regular hits that go through from these heavy bolters. That's 4 wounds, that's 8 damage. Now, for a lot of vehicles out there, they're going to have 2 to 4 wounds remaining. Be they maybe some sort of light transport or up to and including medium armor. Well, 2 to 4 wounds is eminently doable for the Demolisher Cannon, because you're going to get your D6 plus 3 shots there. And don't forget, this thing is also going to get lethal hits. And on average, each time the Demolisher Cannon fires against the vehicle, it's going to generate 6 to 7 shots. Well, that's a lethal hit right there. And the other ones, if they don't lethal hit, well, they should be able to do a little bit of damage. Then you've got the Heavy Stubber and the Hunter Killer, which can just add a bit of insurance to the whole thing. Heavy Stubber, don't forget, within 18 inches, and you're probably going to be within 18 because the Demolisher Cannon's a pretty short range weapon as well, is going to add an extra lethal hit on top of that on average every time it fires. So the point is that this thing can generate a lot of lethal hits every time that it fires, and the vast majority of those lethal hits are damage to or significantly higher than that. And what's really interesting is the Malcador Defender can do this in its shooting phase, but it can also start really annoying the enemy in their turn as well, thanks to its Armored Defender ability, which has also seen a glow up with all of these lethal hit changes. Armored Defender reads, each time you target this model with the Fire Overwatch stratagem, hits are scored on unmodified hit rolls of 5+ while resolving that stratagem. These shots now benefit from lethal hits. The old Born Soldiers did not benefit from Overwatch because it was an out of phase interaction, and as per the dreaded rules commentary, aka the second rulebook at this point, out of phase stuff did not trigger abilities and army rules and all this kind of stuff. But now the newborn soldier simply says each time you make a ranged attack. It's not an out of phase thing. It's not firing as if you're in your shooting phase or anything like that. It's just each time you make a ranged attack. So not only will the Malcador Defender have lethal hits in its turn, it'll also have lethal hits when it fires Overwatch, and it's a very good candidate for Overwatch because it also hits on a 5+ without the lethal hits. Now, it's important to note that it doesn't say that you get a critical hit on an unmodified roll of a 5+. If it did, it would mean that on Overwatch, the Malcador Defender would get lethal hits on 5s and 6s, which would be incredible. No. When you fire the Malcador Defender, your 1s to 4 miss, your 5s hit normally, and your 6s get the benefit of lethal hits now. It's still better. It's still a better incentive to use the Malcador Defender's ability, but it's not completely over the top. God, I would love it if it was a 5+ critical hit, man. But wait, there's more, because there are a couple of other key changes that have come about with this balanced data slate, which have definitely given some life to the Malcador Defender. First up, we have the changes to tank shock. It is now done on your toughness, not on your number of attacks. Thanks to the Malcador Defender being toughness 11, it means if you use this thing in tank shock, then it will get to roll 11 dice, fishing for 5 and 6s for doing mortal wounds. So if the worst comes to the worst, or you're facing down a particularly tough enemy vehicle and you haven't quite been able to finish it with the Demolisher and the heavy bolters and it's got a couple of wounds left over, taking the Malcador Defender and going for tank shock and ramming it into the enemy vehicle should net you on average between 3 to 4 mortal wounds, and that should be able to seal the deal even against the toughest of opponents. And last but certainly not least, the Malcador Defender really benefits from the new pivot rules. In fact, all of the Malcador chassis do, because they are particularly long. Now, pivoting these days with the balanced data slate, it just is a 2-inch tax. It doesn't matter how much you pivot. You can spin around, Tokyo, drift, do donuts, doesn't matter. If you pivot at any point during a movement, you take 2 inches off. But if you pivot again and again and again, you don't pay that 2-inch tax each time. It's if you pivot once or more, take 2 inches off. Now, the Malcador is a real long boy, and so you could take this thing, drive it around some ruins, and then pivot it at the end of its move to try and see past those L-shaped ruins and potentially get a lot of extra movement out of this thing. Because you pivot it around the center, and it's a long boy, it really can benefit from a lot. That 2-inch tax, it's not even a tax by the time you're done with it. You might have ended up with getting a lot of extra movement out of it, and you can get those angles and get around those ruins, like I said, to target units that thought that they were safe from the prowling defender. However, all of this sounds great, but there is one big problem with the Malcador Defender, and we've got to address it. We've got to be upfront about it. We've got to be honest about it. It's the points cost. This thing hasn't had any points changes since the beginning of 10th edition, which is wild when you consider how much things like Hellhounds and Leman Russes and now Rogal Dawns have come down. The Malcador Defender is going to set you back 310 points, which is eye-watering when you compare it to the bargain bucket Rogal Dawn, which is only 240 points now. You also have the fact that this is, at the end of the day, a Forge World unit, and as we've seen with things like the Necrons and the Orc releases, things that are in Forge World don't seem long for this Earth. And so it may be a unit that gets discontinued, even though it does have a plastic kit with Horus Heresy. Taking all of this into account, the good and the bad, and answering the question that we posed at the beginning of the video, is the Malcador Defender now broken? I think that we can definitively say that the Malcador is better. We can definitively say that the Malcador Defender is now a unit that can really punch above its weight. But it is a unit that is held back by that points cost and its uncertain future. And so I don't think that the Malcador Defender is utterly broken, but I do think that it is a damn good unit, and one that you can put in your list and not feel like you're being held back, and actively feel like it's actually got a bit of punch and a bit of power behind it now. If you're someone who already owns a Malcador Defender and you've been looking for an excuse to put it in your list, go for it. And if you're someone who's always had your eye on it and you're not too worried if maybe it gets discontinued or legends at some point in the future, then now's a great time and a great excuse to pick one up and add it to your collection. But of course, all of this is just like my opinion, man. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Are you a fan of the Malcador Defender? Do you think that now is its time to shine? Or is it just that little bit too pricey? If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to smash that like button and also subscribe to never miss an episode. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure, and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian Glory Hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and Patreons. You guys are amazing. Truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full-time without the incredible and generous support of my members. So thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, the people who have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a heartfelt thank you to Alex Dengal, Bon Vert, Lord Pryor, Mark Panconi, RJ Scorpion, Swordfish Trombone, Try Again Bragg, John Stubbs, Nick Walsh, Diesel Fox, and August Barney. Seriously guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support is incredible and it makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. That's all for now. Hope you've all enjoyed today's video, and of course, as always, see you guys next time.